Coming in now is our whiskey flight. Lead is Mike Kelly, Gene Lennon, John Florent, Bill Merkin, and Glenda Van Simmel. All of those are RVs. We have RV-8s, 7s, and an RV-6 in there. Snake flight, which is going to be led by Stan Williams in an RV-8. Dick Axelrod will be in an RV-7A. Dan Garley will be in an RV-4A. And Tony Crawford will be bringing up the number 4 position. That's the one going overhead just right now. Snake flight. We have a very large flight coming up now with some 12 airplanes. Jeff Edwards, Harry Summerton, Mark McCormick, Greg Cousins, Vidoe, Ken Allen, Jim Conrad, Jim Clark, Bob Reese, Mike Taylor, Ted Chang, and Mike Coons. No two airplanes alike. This is where it makes formation flying a little bit difficult because all of these airplanes handle differently. Here they're coming in now. If you look overhead, they're going to form up into what they call the 4-diamond formation. Every Friday night, these fellas practice quite a bit. The formations that you're seeing now are practiced over and over again, and on some of these configurations where they reconfigure, they actually walk through those on the ground to make sure that everything's going to work out. This flight being led by Jeff Edwards in a Great Lakes, and in that formation we have a Cessna 140, which is probably the slowest airplane, and we have a Bonanza. If you look close, look at those airplanes. No two alike. There's a light sport in there. There's a mall in there. If you can see the mall is a turbine mall. Wide open. Here comes the SX-300s making their second pass. 259 airplane. Keith Phillips, Dave Baldwin, John Wilson. By the way, John Wilson had grand champion in 2014, and Jim Vitale in 1994 got grand champion here at Sun and Fun and also in Oshkosh. Here comes our whiskey flight being led by Mike Kelly. Gene Lennon, number 2, John Florent, number 3, Bill Merkin, and Glenda Van Simmel. Now, so these pilots formation trained? Well, yes and no. We train our own pilots here at Spruce Creek, and trust me, formation flying is not a casual thing. We have ground schools, and we have new pilots spend many hours in the right seat. Passing over now is our snake flight, again, making their second pass. And that 12 ship will allow them to reconfigure into what I call a tow wire formation. Because it looks like a great big tow wire. Keep an eye on that one. But you were saying the pilots being trained for formation, it certainly is anything less than casual. And they go to ground school, they sit right seat, or they have a right seat trained pilot, and they go through many hours of training before we have about probably 40 in Spruce Creek. And with 750 airplanes, you can imagine there's everything from Learjets and Citations right down to some ultralights. Looks like it looks like the red flight, one has headed back to Spruce Creek, and these planes are going to probably break for the landing. There they go, on the break. 1, 2, and 3. That would be Keith Phillips, Dave Baldwin, and John Wilson. I do believe Jeff Vitale headed back to Spruce Creek. Jeff Edwards, still flying for the airlines, does a great job of organizing and the week we've ever put together. And they spent about 3 weeks on the ground walking through that, just to make that come out right in the air. If there's any mistakes to be made, of course, you want to make them on the ground. You don't want to be doing that in the air. It takes about a half a second to run into the guy next to you. So you look at one thing, the airplane next to you. It's nice to have a give. The guy in back, as the military calls it, we call it a right seater, someone to look at your gauges and do your radio work for you. And it's always a help to have somebody with you because you are looking at one thing. Yeah, this is our flight of 12 has reconfigured. And I see that they're not doing the tow bar, they're doing a modified diamond here. And again, if you look at that bonanza, he's kind of wallowing around there. Got it down pretty slow. There's a light sporty there. Interesting challenge is to we take a look at the weight to power ratio on some of these airplanes, and it just gives you some idea as to what kind of performance. Of course, yeah, we seem to have lost a couple of our airplanes. Some of the airplanes are looking at these formation and heading back to Spruce Creek to learn your team members, yourself, and most of all your airplane, because one of probably the two hardest parts. Here comes our snake flight is going to be breaking now for landing. The snake being led by Steve Williams in an RV-8, Dick Axelrod and Garley and Tony Crawford in that flight today. They've just broken, and they are probably recovering our flight of 12, the Lakes flight. Flight of 12, lake flight, and they're going to break it up into some smaller units for the break. A little bit windy up there today. Normally they'll fly a little bit tighter than what you're seeing here today. Being led by Jeff Edwards. And you'll notice when the airplanes break how differently they act. From that configuration, I would say they're not going to do a break. Well, they are. There we go. There's some idea of the handling of those airplanes the way they are breaking. The airplane approaches now. That's Lynn O'Donnell in a Stinson 108. He has over 1,000 parachute jumps. Quite a gal. You can see by the time the last person breaks, they're pretty far down the runway. You will see airplanes as they get that power to weight ratio. They have a fantastic for a fair.
It's obviously practiced a lot. The break was so highly organized and orchestrated. Very nice to see. But thank you for coming. Really enjoyed the Spruce Creek Gaggle Flight.
Our pleasure. Thank you.